So hello once again. My name is Jonathan Miller. I'm the hometown historian, and I've been wanting to do this introductory video here for a while. And I'm out here in Steelestown, my hometown, outside on my front porch. I figured it's beautiful out here today, July 31st, and you hear the birds in the background. And I was out filming today. I finished up the Swatara Gap, Fort Swatara, and Inwood, Village of Inwood video. The third part that I had of that video I wasn't terribly happy with. They have a nice cool sign there that has all the history of the area, the Inwood Iron Bridge, and just the Swatara Gap for Swatara and different things. And I wanted to make sure that I was filming everything so you could actually see it, because how I originally filmed it didn't work. I also did the largest video on the Union Canal, which thankfully I got most of what I wanted. I got the first two locks down from the Waterville Bridge. I did a couple small videos like on the original Inwood Iron Bridge and the Waterville Bridge, which crosses for the Appalachian Trail. I also did a small video on the Murray School in Indiantown Gap, which is named after Lindley Murray, who was apparently very famous expert on grammar and English language. He was born in 1745, and he's a pretty extraordinary guy, very well known, and was born in Harper's Tavern, which is about 5-6 miles down the road from where I live. And then I was able to also do a little bit of family history at the Outwood Evangelical Lutheran Church, where my grandfather and great-grandparents are buried, along with one of my grandfather Milton's brothers, Frank. And I believe there's other Millers from his family, because there was like seven brothers or something like that, 9 brothers, maybe 11 children in all. And there's some interesting family stories there that I was able to pass on, so those videos will come out. And then I also went down to the Swatara Iron Furnace, or Swatara Iron Forge, which is right down from Sudburg and Outwood, Pine Grove Township, just down the road from. It's called the High Bridge Dam. I think now it's called Seagrass Dam, but it's the Lebanon reservoir for the water supply for the city of Lebanon. But I was able to get quite a bit done today. Like I said, it was a beautiful day. So I wanted to talk about a bunch of different things. First off, I wanted to introduce myself. Quite a few of you may know me from Wandering Woodsman videos that Cliff and I do together with the Searching for History, different towns. Then other ones that show up early on, where he used to go down in the caves and whatnot. I'd be there just in case he got stuck or something happened. I don't know what I was going to do, because I was a lot bigger back then. I wasn't going to fit down where he was, but it was a lot of fun doing that and watching his journey. So we had talked about for a while about me doing a YouTube channel as well, different things that I was interested in. Right now I'm doing quite a few like cemeteries and churches and that type of stuff, but I'm starting to branch out and do other things as well, and that'll continue to happen. And today was the first day I started doing some camera filming while I was driving, be able to show some neat things. And it's cool to be able to go down some of these roads and eventually maybe see how I can handle biking, and maybe go around and have the camera rolling when I go on some biking, because I don't know how hiking is not going to work real great right now for me. I'm doing my best that I can, but I've healed up pretty good from my surgery back in the beginning of February, but I just have so much stamina, and that's it. But so about me, I in my early 20s had gotten really interested in writing. My pen name is J.P. Walborn, so I have a couple books that are basically done, but I just have to do the final finishing up touches in the editing, and then I'll wind out self-publishing. It's something I always loved reading, but I really fell in love with writing first with screenwriting. So I took some filmmaking courses and things like that. So eventually, once I get my filmmaking camera, I do know my way somewhat around that. Technology has really changed in the last 15 years, obviously, so it is something I had to learn more and more every single day. But I'm getting better at it. I still have a lot of things. I keep on getting my finger like right there in the camera view. I got to put a smiley face on the finger, and have it introduce itself. But I also then started to fall in love with writing as books and stuff like that, and different series that I have. The one I've talked about a lot is The Boys of the Fallen Sun and the Risen Moon. When I worked at the Hershey Company in facilities management, I used to tell some of the stories from my dad and my granddad and great granddad on my dad's mom's side of the family, the different stories and adventures that they had, and people used to always laugh about them, and they would say, "Hey, you got to put that into a book because it's a lot of fun and people would really enjoy that." So I sort of went a little bit through the publishing process, and ultimately I just wasn't quite ready to do that yet. And that was back probably 15, 16 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. So I'm getting back into writing again. I had a lot of time that I spent taking care of my dad for about 8 years, and then when he passed away in 2011, about a year after that, I wound up getting laid off from the Hershey Company, and then just sort of had to start my own company doing landscaping and property restoration. Eventually got back into landscaping with another gentleman's company, and then my mom's health started to deteriorate, so I got away from doing a lot of stuff with the writing and those things, and always wanted to go back and do this type of stuff. And I have schooling in journalism and creative writing, and so this all sort of falls hand in hand. I'm getting to do something that I really, really love, and I have to say I'm really enjoying this journey so far. It's been a blast going out and looking at history, a lot of things that I didn't know about, and figuring it out and seeing how everything's so connected. Because it's the one thing I keep on seeing. Like, I'll do a video on, for instance, the Moravian Cemetery, which was just a couple videos ago, and then you find out how all this stuff is connected between like Inwood, the families there, and Swatara Gap, obviously, with the Indians coming through and a number of the farmers being killed and some of the Indians being killed as well, and are all buried there. And it's just everything's intertwined in history, and it's just sort of neat seeing all those different connections. And so far I've been doing it in a pretty small area, but I'm trying to do the videos so they're all connected. And so this is something I really, a big student of history, love architecture, and eventually once I get into doing the About Town series, I'm going to start with Annville, which is the closest larger town. Cliff and I did a Searching for History series on that, video on that, and I'd like to start with that, then go over to Myerstown, which was my hometown for about 15 years, and there's a lot of cool history there, and then start just doing other little towns like Pine Grove, and going from there. And I've gotten suggestions from a number of people about towns that I should go and check out, and I'll eventually go around and start hitting those, and I appreciate all the input that people have given, because this is a learning experience for me. It's not something that you just go into and talking, like even on my front porch here, you feel a little weird sitting here talking to yourself. But it's something that you get used to, and it's just collecting your thoughts and being able to concisely put them out there, and without sounding like too much of an idiot. But it's an experience, and I found it to be quite enjoyable so far. It's still got to be careful because I only have so much stamina. It's a healing process with what I've gone through, which I'll talk about here in a second. But I had a lot of experience working from 2000 to 2012. Hershey Company, learned a lot of customer service there, and it was for the most part, it was a really good experience. There's a lot of people that I know from there that are lifelong friends, and then working for myself and doing landscaping over the next period of time. In the last couple years, before everything happened in January, February, I had been doing floor work, industrial floor work like waxing and stripping and waxing, taking care of the floors, of buffing the wax and whatnot, cleaning the floors for Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, and Dollar General. So I got to travel all over like I had never done before, and I never really liked that. For me, a long drive was going 40 minutes away. Now I was doing drives of like 4 hours or more, going the whole way up to Syracuse or Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, going up to Buffalo, those type of places. And it was a cool experience because you got to see so many things that I'd never seen before. A lot of cool history. I like pop culture a lot. I like comics and whatnot. And there's one place up in Binghamton is a really cool place if you like pop culture. Like ton of cool comic shops. like video games and things like that. So I get to check out a lot of really cool stuff. There's a lot of cool shops. Spent more money than I should have, but it was worth it. It was a lot of fun. Over this last year or so with COVID and stuff, we had my mom had been, her health had been getting worse, and it was time for us to move from Myerstown and get closer to my sister because of my traveling and my mom needing more assistance. We wound up being able to get over here in Steelestown. My sister and brother-in-law had lived here at the parsonage for about 8 years, and it was cool. We were able to just sort of came out of nowhere. We were able to come and move here, and we were here about a month. And my mom had fallen at Myerstown a couple times. Didn't get hurt, which was really fortunate. But she fell here, and she fell really hard. Which once again, she didn't get hurt, but like her fear of falling got to the point where she just didn't want to walk anymore, and had gotten to the point then that for my sister and I it was impossible for us to be able to take care of her anymore. So we she wound up going into a home, and so since then I've had this place to myself, and it's been a cool experience, and it's a really lovely town. I have great neighbors, and church has really been good to me. And then unfortunately coming up, for the last year and a half or so, or 2 years ago, I got hurt. I believe it was 2019 July, where I had hurt both my feet pretty severely, and I had gotten some wounds, and I dealt with infection on and off for about a year and a half. And unfortunately, in end of January, I had just picked up a job with Amazon because our contract was ending with doing the floor work, and I wound up getting a really bad infection in my left foot, and ultimately led to osteomyelitis, which is an infection of the bone. And I wound up also being septic, found out I was diabetic at the same time, so it was a whole load of fun all at once. And unfortunately, they had to take my second and third toe, and then also take the second and third metatarsals, which basically leaves no bone structure in the middle of my foot. And I have to say, like, I was always growing up, I was always considered sort of class clowns, optimist, and laugh about everything and have a good attitude. And I sort of in my 20s lost that quite a bit, just with everything with work and working in youth ministries and just having a bunch of letdowns. It's sort of like weird because life, as you grow up, you sort of get introduced to some of the intricacies of life, and some of them aren't that fun. And that was sort of the case here, and I lost my love for life and people. And if anything with this experience, it was obviously a challenge. It was terrifying as well, because they had been talking about probably having to take the whole way up to my knee, and you just at that stage don't know what you're going to do. And you have two choices. One, you can choose to accept it and say, I'm going to make the best of this, or you can get angry. And thankfully I chose to have a good attitude about it, joke about it. First day was a little terrifying, plus I didn't know how bad I was, because they said if I hadn't gotten in by the 31st, or I got in on the 30th, if I hadn't gotten in by the 31st, I probably would have been dead the next day, because I was septic, I had infection in my blood, and it's something that's pretty dangerous. And I guess when you get that close to death, you sort of reevaluate your life, reevaluate how you look at things. And people were really, really good to me, very, very kind. The church was extraordinarily kind. My neighbors, Dana and Carol, couldn't ask for anybody better. Just really looking out for me, and for my sister and Cliff, and just so many people. The Wandering Woodsman crowd had been completely extraordinarily generous to me as well, and I can't thank you enough. And this channel, what I'm doing now, wouldn't be possible without you, and can't say thank you enough. And it really does change your perspective and makes you look at things and say, what am I going to do, and how am I going to do it, and it's going to work out. And it's just sort of like this last week, I had an issue with my leg getting injured when I was doing landscaping, and then I also had issues with the reinfection of the foot, and they thought there for a little while I might have a blood clot, which thankfully I didn't. But going through that, and then just realizing I can't notice how a wasp land on me there. I don't want that. But you sort of reevaluate. I'm very stubborn, and I just sort of push through things, and that's just not the way. Sometimes you have to look out for your health and just say, no, that's enough. And my boss there in the company finally just said, this is getting to be too much for you. And so, as disappointing as it is, and you're sad about it because I really enjoyed working every single day with those guys. I can't say thank you enough to Jim and Rich. They were really, really good to me, and Jim's wife, Dorian. And, ultimately I'll be able to get what I need to get done. And hopefully, I've been trying to get disability, and it's sounding pretty positive now for that. So I don't really want to be on that long, but for right now, it's sort of what I got to do, because the healing process, in May, my last surgeon visit, they said that it'd still be about 6 to 8 months before I somewhat return to normal, and probably doing what I was doing with the landscaping. Just with COVID, there's only so many job opportunities, and I can't do stuff where I'm constantly on concrete. So warehouses are out of the question, and most retail. So I'm sort of stuck with what I got to do. So this is just sort of, it is what it is, and you make the best of it. And I'm going to get through it. I'm going to be good. And like I said, people have been looking out for me, and things are working out. So with that, I'm going to talk about the channel. The channel, The Hometown Historian, the goal of it is to eventually go into towns, do a several part video series from the founding of the town, those early buildings, to throughout the history. Some of these towns, like a town, Anvil Side, may take 3 videos. And I'd like to do one last video that has the town currently. Because of COVID, a lot of the brick and mortar stores, the mom and pop shops, have really struggled and suffered. And I think, a lot of the times these stores, they are a major part of the community and makeup of the town. And there's a lot of unique places, whether it's antique shops, restaurants, whatever it may be. I'd like to go around the town, film a little bit of that. Also, the local historical societies. The big goal here is to work with the local historical societies. Like in Anvil, for instance, Friends of Old Anvil does so much for the community, from the Quiddy Nature Park to the facades of the buildings in the historic district. They just do a lot, and I'd like to bring attention to that and these organizations and these people who do so much to preserve our history. So that would be the main series, and I want to wait till I get a camera that's of the quality so I can really start doing this. And part of the reason I'm doing cemeteries right now, some of these places, they don't really have to travel far. The Union Canal video was the first one where I really sort of went out there and trekked, and I feel good now, but like it took a lot out of me, and I have to be really careful because my balance is really bad yet. And there's a couple of times I kept saying, "Oh, I don't want to die on video." Not that I thought I was ever going to be in any kind of danger, but it is sort of jokingly my sense of humor. It was a little terrifying and sketchy at points, and I got to be somewhat careful. And with the hiking thing right now, I can go so far, and that's it. And so I have to do accordingly. And plus, with you're getting used to doing this whole thing, you want to sort of get your feet wet and start to get to understand. And cemeteries a lot of times are going to be empty, so I can go in there and not feel like a complete moron talking to myself, and just sort of getting used to talking on video and getting loose and comfortable and really just being myself. I love telling stories. My dad was a great storyteller, and I inherited that from him with my writing and all that. And so I would like to do a series potentially on like a storytelling. Well, I want to do one in Greenpoint where I talk about a number of the stories that in Greenpoint that pretty humorous, interesting. I told a little bit. I did one with Outwood Cemetery, some family history, and a little more sad with some of those, but it's interesting history nonetheless. And it's a cool old cemetery there as well. I'd like to, as also there's a video series I'd like to do. Pennsylvania has these blue roadside markers, historic signs. I'd like to do a video of those, probably 5 to 10 minute series, video series, and then also give a bunch of other history, because those blue signs can only give so much history, but it's something that I find intriguing. Today was I did that Murray Schoolhouse, which is connected to one of those blue signs of Lindley Murray, and it was cool when I was driving some of the back roads coming from Greenpoint back over here to Steelestown. Lo and behold, there's a Lindley Murray Road just in the middle of nowhere. It's reasonably close to Harper's Tavern and stuff like that, but it was just cool. It's like some of these names now make sense to me, who they are, and there's a history, so it has more meaning. And that's a cool thing about history. You find out about these people and these different events, and then you realize, okay, cool, this is what this means. This is who this person is. This is what they contributed to history and the world that we have today. So that would be another series that I would be interested in doing. Uh, I also like old movie theaters. Love my favorite movies is The Majestic with Jim Carrey, and that's I just love the beauty of those old theaters, the majesty of them. You know, it was the golden age of Hollywood, and you dress up to go to a movie theater because it was an event. And some of these old movie theaters, there's one in Annville called the Allen. There's one still, one of these older theaters that remains over in Pine Grove. So I'd like to visit a bunch of those and just check them out, talk to the owners, get to know the history of those movie theaters, and have a video series on that. Maybe potentially have another video series on other community centers like bowling alleys, places that have a lot of meaning to us in our hometowns. Potentially a series on old churches. A lot of times the old churches have some really cool architecture to them, great history. These are big community centers, have a lot of meaning to people, and that's another series I'd like to do. My nephew is very interested in World War I and World War II history, so that's another one potentially do with him, that we go around. We'll start with Indiantown Gap, where my dad's buried, and just sort of go through some of these different places that had special significance in World War I and World War II. A lot of different ideas. Some of them are going to work. I was thinking about eventually doing like a bike run where I go around and just do bike trails and stuff like that and take you along with me so you can see some of the beauty of these trails. Cliff does so many of these awesome trails. He's doing a series right now, Wandering Woodsman, on World's End Park, which is cool because that was one of the places I drove by. That and like Ricketts Glen, which is up there in northeastern PA, and just the beauty of those places. And there's so many people, and it's like I can include myself in that degree as well because I'm partially disabled. You can't go out and do those things, and being able to go out with Cliff and the quality of his films and the passion he has for it, it makes it a cool experience that you can actually go out and do that. And so there's a significance to what we do as well. It's not just entertainment or just here's a history lesson. You're enabling people that can't go out and do these things or stay too far away to be able to see these places, experience some history, experience a little bit of fun. Hopefully your narrative is pretty good, it's not boring, and you can help people enjoy this bit and have some experiences. And that's sometimes this is their only chance to have that, and that it's extraordinary privilege to be able to do this. Like I said, I'm just starting out, just getting better at this. I'm using my phone right now, which is not the greatest, but it's working so far. You know, a bunch of things like how eventually I want to be able to add pictures and do stuff like Cliff does with the Wandering Woodsman. Once I get a camera that actually can do that, do everything off my laptop, edit properly, and have it be very professional, because I'm anal retentive, and I look at some of my videos sometimes. I'm happy with them, but it's like, it could be better. But I like to have fun with this. It really is. It's a blast, and I'd like to do something potentially like a storytelling series that I just sort of go through and tell stories about an area, urban legends or urban myths. I don't want to just do one thing or the other, but do as many different cool things having to do with history and with our hometowns and those memories that we have, and just history in general. And eventually maybe even do some of these cool paths, because I always loved hiking and doing those types of things. I just right now can't really do a whole lot of that. But those are some of the ideas I have. I have other ones that are rattling around in my empty cage up here. That's one thing. Like, I have a plan, and then I just should write it down so I can keep a little more on point. But I do the best that I can. But so the future of the channel, I'm hoping it's going to be bright, and we'll continue to put content out there. I eventually want to get to the stage where, like Cliff, he's encouraged me to try to have a backlog of, say, 12, 15, 20 videos that you can load them up every single day. I am loading up videos on the Facebook channel. I did the Murray School, the Waterville Iron Bridge, and the Inwood Iron Bridge. I did a short video on those. I was originally going to put up the Outwood Cemetery with sort of the family history. I was going to put that up on the page, but It's about 9 minutes. I figured, you know what, I'm going to probably throw it up on YouTube. And I also did the Swatera Iron Furnace, and that's long enough that I'd like to put that up on the YouTube channel as well. Because like putting stuff on Facebook, if you're like 5 minutes or less, it doesn't take forever to load, and it's a little easier to put those up there. And so we're gonna go around, we're gonna figure this out, and continue to put up more content and see where we go from here. And I'm excited for this journey. I want to thank you for coming along, and we'll see where this goes. And whether it is in your town, my town, if it's our town, home is that one place that really connects us all. It's our memories, it's our joys, our sorrows. It's that place of belonging. It has that nostalgia, the cool memories that we have, and it's just a place that feels like home, and that's our hometown. And so when we go on our next adventure, whatever that be, I'm hoping to do a video on my hometown that I grew up in called Greenpoint. It's just a small village on Route 443. It's also called Moonshine Road. I want to do one on the Blue-Eyed Six, which is Moonshine Cemetery. There's a couple of them buried there. It's a pretty cool story. I mean, it's a sad story, but it was a pretty big story in Lebanon County back when it happened. And I still want to do B. Noggles Lutheran Church, which is right near here. It's on the historic registry. Ton of other stuff, little things that I'm looking up and finding, just things that are intriguing that I want to go and hit on and do videos on, and maybe try to start doing some of these historic marker signs, Pennsylvania historic marker signs, and do some history research on those and start doing those over the next week. But I wanted to get this video done, introduce you to myself, introduce you to my channel, what the plans are, what the goal is of it, and hopefully we can continue to enjoy this adventure together and have fun. I'll continue to get better, and I continue to ask for your support and thank you for that support. Hit like, hit subscribe. They also have like a little bell thing that notifies you when more videos come up. I'm going to be throwing every single video up on the Facebook page as well, just so people know that it's there, as well as my personal page. And we'll continue to put stuff out, continue to, like I said, figure this out, because it's a learning experience trying to figure this all out and see what it's all about and get this done. So we will see you on our next adventure, wherever that is. I'm hoping potentially to maybe do video tomorrow or two, but a lot of it depends upon, I got to get a hedge trimming job done and do an estimate on another job, because I'm picking up little work here and there to make ends meet. And so we will see you about town. Thanks everyone for coming along.